to the Resilience Reset on Tuesday. And as you know, or perhaps you know, that we have had, or I have had some really cool guests on Tuesday. And today is no exception. I am super excited to have a really good friend of mine, Keith Tomasek, on the call. And he is a digital marketer with a specialty in email and on social media. And he really has just crafted such a beautiful niche in the arts community and in the nonprofit sector, and has some really cool things. I mean, he also works with businesses, of course, but that is really where he shines. And I thought it's been a wild ride for him, and he has managed to uh, do some really cool things lately that I wanted to bring some attention to and give him a bit of a stage. So awesome to have you here, Keith.
How are you? Thanks, Allison.
My gosh. Okay, so where are we going to start? I think, well, let's start with, did I do justice to what you do? Like, what
Yeah,
what exactly do you do?
digital marketing. So I help folks become, grow their audiences essentially by getting people to know them, like them, trust them, and then ultimately exchange. Usually it's money for a service or money for an object, but it can also be I've worked on political campaigns, I've helped bring out the vote. I've worked on organizations like blood donor clinics where we want people to go and donate blood. So it's really building an audience that likes you, knows you, trusts you, and then getting them to do something with you that is obviously in your interests.
Right. As opposed to just creating content and not having anybody ever use you.
Hey, it's easy to create content. It's hard to build a loyal audience, I use the word community because your audience is really your community and you need to take care of them and respect them and honor them. It used to be the old thing, buyer beware. That's
Right.
gone. Now it's seller beware. You have to be authentic. You have to be open because all the power is with the buyers now.
So interesting is that you mentioned the word authentic. I think that's a good word. Let's talk about that.
Sure.
Can you be too authentic? Like,
That's a good
do you know what
point.
I mean?
It's
Like,
yeah,
is it,
too much
how much,
information.
yeah, TMI, and where's that line for organizations? And how do you determine if you're working with, say, a theater and they've got somebody who's on social and doing whatever they're doing, but it's not brand aligned? Like, how do you navigate that and give your clients advice?
So that's a very good question, Allison. So you always want everything to be aligned with the brand, and some brands are more authentic than others. I was working with a real estate developer. They had homes. I think the homes were around 800,000 to 1.2 million. And one of the things that I was excited about was some of their key employees were women. So I got those women in their hard hats on the site, and that was part of our campaign. It was really authentic. Um, let's say one of those women was a country music, love drinking and driving a pickup truck. That would probably be a little bit too much.
Right.
So that would be authentic, but it wouldn't help serve our needs, which is to build awareness about the properties and ultimately entice people to trust us because we're building you this house. So you have to make sure everyone on the team knows what the goal is. And I think that's really important. I just sent an email to one of my colleagues today about an email for Black Friday. And I said to him, our audience has been with us for 24 years. So we're really telling these people, you're getting this deal first. It's just for you because we have this authentic, long relationship. It's not a hard sell at all. It's like, hey, you've been along the journey with us for 20, 24 years. Some of them have only been with us for a year or two, but it's not a hard sell. It's like, because you're special to us, you're getting this offer before anybody else. And that's not BS. It was true.
Right, because sometimes people do that. Like, I see that in a lot of emails where it's almost like a false sense of, like, false sense of, what's the urgency? That's the word I'm looking
Right.
for. Like, oh, you got
Right.
to do this. And the thing is, like, you could do it the next day,
Well,
right?
that's a good point. That's great. You're right. So this deal that we're offering our email list first expires on Cyber Monday. So instead
Okay.
of us saying, hey, you have to buy it by the end of the day today, we're going to say it expires on Cyber Monday because they're going to see it on social media anyway. We're telling our email list, you guys are most important to us. We're sending you this before we send it to social media. And a lot of organizations would say you've only got 24 hours because you want to build in that scarcity. But that wouldn't be authentic because they're going to see on Cyber Monday, sure, it's not Black Friday, it's Cyber Monday, but it's the same offer. So we're just we will send them a reminder email with 24 hours to go saying, hey, time's running out. Here's your last chance to get the deal, right? Not
Right.
we'll only send that email to people that haven't already purchased, because you don't want to
Right.
annoy the people that, follow you, right? So yeah,
Yes.
it's a good question. Authenticity. The way you get around that is by making sure. My point was that the guy that my employee that I said, here's what we need to write. I made it clear to him it's not a hard sell. It's a soft sell that's really letting our email followers know they're special. That's why they're getting this first. Don't have to worry about selling hard. Just let them know they're special, and make sure they don't feel bad when they see it on social media first. It's like, hey, I'm on your email list. How come I'm finding about this over there?
Right. And how do you gosh, I have so many questions. I I think one of the questions I want to ask, and then I want to get into the story a little bit and some of the things you've done lately that's really cool. But how do you figure out what you put to your email list and what you put to your social?
That's a great
And
question. Yeah.
can you duplicate?
So it depends from client to client and what their goals are on social versus what their goals are on email. You're actually good at doing you, Allison. I love your stuff on LinkedIn is kind of long form. That could be an email, but for some of our clients, they want a shorter form on social media. Although I'm actually getting into longer form on social media now. I just published some Instagram content for one of my clients, and there was like 4 paragraphs there. It was long. Um, Interesting. So
I,
the email is going to be a little bit more personal because you have an ongoing relationship with them. Remember, social media is still like sticking something on a billboard at the grocery store or whatever. Everybody can see it. So ideally, with your email list, you have it tagged so you know a little bit more about them. Like I said, on that client I just worked with, 24 years. A lot of them have been with us for 10 or 15 on email. So that's a bit of a different vibe than social media, which is the top of the funnel, right? You're sort of
right.
trying to bring them in. But on email, you're trying to foster that relationship and keep it going, and ideally give them some delight and surprise.
Ooh, delight and surprise. That's a cool way to look at
Because
that.
you want to make them, why am I going to open that email? There was something in it that either, moved me, inspired me. It was a wonderful deal. I just felt great. So I want to know, when is that next one coming? That's the key
Right.
thing of an email. Schedule them regularly, build some anticipation.
So it's interesting because I do my Tuesday lift ups, right? And this is the Tuesday quick 1 minute read. Ironically, it's probably shorter than some of my posts on LinkedIn. And I know you've always told me be shorter, and I'm always longer, and that's fine.
Well, I'm coming
Um,
around to longer now on LinkedIn. I am.
I will inspire you. Well, and
Yeah,
not every type of post can handle long form. So I'm
correct.
learning this. So, if it's got a photo that's personal, you can do a long form story. If it's a carousel, it's got to be short. If it's a poll, it's got to be super short. Like there are ways to figure out when it is and when it isn't going to. And Imran, who sometimes comes to our show here, I'm sure he'll pop in at some point in the comments, is uh, is helping me understand that so that
Hmm.
I know. Like we just had a lot of conversations about that. But anyway, I digress because you've noticed LinkedIn, they have the new newsletter. Are you getting
Hmm.
like bombarded with like invites to newsletters yet?
I have not. I have
Okay, so
not.
it's
I'm not
very
as
new.
active on LinkedIn. I'm not as active on LinkedIn as you are. So honestly, I have
Yeah,
not.
that's true. Okay, well, they have a new newsletter feature that is available uh, if you are somebody who has your creator mode turned on.
Sure.
Okay,
Which I
so
mine just got turned on recently. So yeah.
okay, so yeah, brand new, awesome. And I know like your specialty is really the Facebook and the Instagram.
Facebook,
So
Instagram, and email. Yeah.
yeah, in the email. So here's what's interesting is because I'm like, well, I'm already writing this lift up, okay, each and every week. I send it out on Tuesday mornings. What if I just put it in and repurposed it on, say, Wednesday morning as a newsletter on LinkedIn? Like, would that make sense? Because I don't want to keep creating new. But then I'm like, I don't know. I feel like maybe it dilutes it when we repurpose. I know everybody says repurpose, 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 but is it really a great idea at that level of repurposing?
Yeah, I don't know enough about how the LinkedIn email works. And it's okay to repurpose for another platform if you think your audience there is somehow a bit different. Either they're further along in your sales funnel or they have a different relationship with you because you don't post as often. So there's nothing wrong with repurposing. You just need to be specific about it. I wish I could tell you more. I don't know enough about the
That's
email
okay.
tool. Yeah.
I d
Yeah.
It's very new. It's a very new thing. I haven't
Okay.
even had a chance to talk to you about it in the background because, it'll be
No.
one of
Yeah.
our phone calls when we talk about it. By the way, if anybody else has questions for Keith, I'm going to encourage you to go into the chat box. I think my concern is that when I set this up, Facebook wasn't acting properly. So I don't know if this is actually getting streamed over to my Facebook page, which is where a
Hmm.
lot of our regulars come over,
Ah.
which is okay. But if you're on LinkedIn, it is on LinkedIn and it's on my company page on Facebook and it's on
Cool.
YouTube. So people are
Okay.
going to be able to get it. It's just they may not. Some of my uh, people who like to come each day may be wondering where I am, but that's okay.
Ah.
I hope you find us. So, like when COVID happened, like I remember that we had lots of conversations during that time, and
Hmm.
you were helping arts organization, like you were speaking down in the States, putting bums in seats, which is arguably the hardest thing to do for any event uh, thing, right?
That's
So what
funny. Yeah.
happened? Yeah. So what happened? Your story.
So, yeah, and this is where your work with resilience definitely made a difference. So my business was really taking off. I have a core, following of clients in Canada, and I was just about to speak for the first time live in person in Manhattan in Greenwich Village, one of the big arts marketing organizations. Like they do a conference in Toronto, and I keynoted a couple of times, and now the guy's like, you have to come to the States. And then literally I was supposed to fly out, I guess, on the 15th or something like that. So I was devastated because not only everything I had when I had, worked on the keynote and worked on building my business for the Americans and I thought, oh, this is the next level. So not only did all the arts shut down right away, but my growth, which was going to be into the American market, was shut down. And I had flown home from, I was traveling to do another keynote in Winnipeg. So I flew home on the 13th, which was COVID time. So when I got home, I had to quarantine. So I went into the basement for 2 weeks. My poor wife
Oh,
would cook and bring me the food. And I got really messed up in my head because I was like, well, there's no arts, there's no tickets to sell. And that is, that's my true love. As I said, I do the other things. I work with some insurance brokers, I work with real estate folks and those kinds of things, but I love the arts. So I struggled and just did a ton of research on, and I would say it was the closest I would say I was depressed. I'd never been honestly depressed. I'd had friends who would be really depressed, and I just was like, oh, I couldn't even imagine what that was like. Well, I got a taste of it. And I just started doing a lot of research in terms of, that's the reason I'm wearing this outfit is I'm playing tennis now. Like I lost all that social connection, in March, April, May. I just lost all the social connection. There wasn't much work. So you ask yourself all those hard questions. One of the key things I did to alleviate the mental anxiety was to improve my sleep. I really worked hard on sleep hygiene. And one of the best things to get good sleep is to get out in the morning really early and have the sun in your eyes for at least 10 to 20 minutes. There's a ton of
yeah.
research about that. So, yeah, I started doing a morning walk every day. And just that alone made a huge difference. Exercising more, as you can imagine, and then making sure the room I sleep in is black. Susie and my wife and I like total blackout. I use this, which is called a Whoop strap, which is it's the most high tech um, health monitoring device you can get. There's this and the Aura Ring are the two big ones, and this really helped me understand my sleep patterns more. So
Huh.
yeah, and I tell you, I came out of it, and I have had the best year ever in our business. It's been knock wood. It's been absolutely fabulous. And today I'll be spending 4 hours on the tennis court. So business is great. I'm having a little bit of a social network. I'm getting some exercise. As I said,
This is
it was hard
huge.
though. It was a hard turnaround. Yeah.
So it's interesting though because like it's the sleep because a lot of us know what
Sleep.
we're supposed to do to get good sleep,
Yeah.
but we don't actually. It doesn't translate into good sleep necessarily.
No, and just this is the other thing. This actually measures the four different levels of sleep that you can have. So you can be sleeping, you can be out, from whatever 10 at night till 8 in the morning, but it's not necessarily restorative sleep. It's not the kind of sleep that you're going to wake up and go, oh, I feel great. Like now, I used to be the kind of guy that would lie around in bed in the morning, go, oh, what am I going to do? I don't want to get up.
I gotta get
Now,
up.
now I'm literally like a puppy going to the door to go for my walk. I'm like, okay, here we go. It's going to be so fun.
Wow.
Get a glass of water and get outdoors. It's amazing. It was amazing.
That is, that's a real shift. Although I will tell you, and
It
I'm
was a
doing the
huge
70,
shift.
yeah, 75 hard, right? And
Hmm.
you got to do two workouts a day. And at the beginning, I was
Ooh,
like, I don't want to do that. And now it's just like who I am,
you want to do it?
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the same as you, it's just like a non negotiable. It's just what you do. Like, and it
Yeah.
takes a little bit of time, I think, to make
To
the
build a
decision
habit.
and then put it in as a habit that's going to
Yeah,
happen.
that's right.
So that's very cool.
Habits are really hard to create. And so one of the new habits that I have in terms of my work life is I'm using Trello. One of my former I taught at Western University for 10 years. One of my students introduced me to Trello. I hired a student to do some work and I'm like, how do you keep track of all this? Oh, I use Trello. So now I'm using Trello. There's a lot of these tools, but and again, so my team, I have them. I didn't realize how great it was for adding team members so they can see what their responsibilities are. It's really good.
Uh, Yeah, and that's huge. And we've got Greg here who's offered here. Allison and Keith, hello. Great topic. I've also been taking much better care regarding sleep, caffeine cutoff time, and hydration, all
Yeah,
related.
hydration. Yeah, so that's the other thing. With the sleep and the water are two super duper things. My Achilles heel is caffeine, so this is my teacup here. I'll probably have at least 6 cups of green tea, but not today because I play tennis. So I didn't want today. On days when I'm exercising, I try to only have tea afterwards, so I drink less. I don't want to because tea is a diuretic, so tea dries you out.
So you
You
don't
can
want
drink
to,
although.
but
Go
would
ahead.
you actually drink that now and be able to sleep at night? Like if I had caffeine at this time of day, I would be awake all night.
Yeah, so there's a genetic marker. Some people are more susceptible to caffeine and sleep, and I'm luckily I know this because 23andMe. It's not I'm not as susceptible, so I can definitely have, and I can see the evidence on the research because this thing asks you in the morning: Did you have caffeine? Did you have dairy products? Did you have sex? Did everything? Did you dairy products? What else is in there? Did you use breathing exercises? So after a year, you kind of go, hey, wait a sec. If I do breathing exercises, I actually have a much better sleep. Okay. So caffeine doesn't really I try to always curb it by 3:30, and so far it hasn't really affected me. But it's green tea, not coffee or black tea.
Okay, what is this whooper? What's it called? A whoopee?
A
A
whoop.
whoopster? A whoop?
A whoop. WHOOP. So this is called a whoop strap. It's according to them the most sensitive device to measure all kinds of things that are going on in your body. Its closest competitor is a thing called the Aura Ring, which you wear on your ring.
Right.
Which you run your ring finger. And it just gives you a ton of biofeedback that allows you to make good choices.
Huh. Very
It's like
cool.
a
All
Fitbit, but
right.
really high tech.
Okay. I
Yeah.
will. I might look at a Whoop strap. I think that
It's
might not
not
be a bad idea.
it's honestly it's expensive. It's not for everybody. They're probably gonna have a Black Friday deal. But I gifted it to 3 people, and 2 of them said it changed their lives. As I would argue, this had a huge impact on my change too.
On your life.
Yeah,
Very neat.
for sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
so when we talk, because like I know nothing's off limits here with our conversation, and we don't have a ton of time left. And I know we were supposed to talk
Oh,
about filling seats for the arts organizations, but you
right.
also have had, and I don't want to out this, but I know that you are thinking about talking about it. But you had a health scare.
Yeah, well, I had Crohn's disease when I was 16, then I had a cancer scare about 4 years ago. I'll tell you what, though, I was talking to my wife about this. The depression that hit me, and I don't know if that clinically is the right term, so I don't want to be too light with it. But I'll say depression. The depression that I went through in COVID hit me more than the cancer that I had, which was not a death sentence, but it was life changing.
Right.
But because I've had Crohn's disease my whole life, I was able to manage my health, advocate for myself, and work with my doctor and understand, okay, well, that seems to be over. As long as I'm okay for 5 years, I'll be fine. But because with Crohn's disease, I have a really good relationship with my doctor and, I'm an advocate for my own well being. But the depression or whatever that was, I don't know why I'm denying it, the depression, I'd never experienced that before. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know how to manage it. So it hit me harder than cancer.
That's fair. And it's
Yeah.
also because it can be all consuming. And so if you don't know what it's, because it's the underlying of everything, whereas when you have a diagnosis or a pain challenge that you're used to dealing with, you can compartmentalize it,
You can
right? It's
exactly. I compartment. That's exactly what I was in. Now, don't get me wrong. After the cancer diagnosis and after the treatment, I was like, I definitely was down for a while. I was like, oh, it took me a while to get back to my old self. But I could manage that kind of world, having had Crohn's since I was 16 and seeing doctors. But the depression, I didn't know what to do or where to start or anything. It was something.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people went through that, and I think it's called situational depression, right? Like
Okay. There you go.
yeah, like there's different types.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm so glad that you came out of it because you came out of it with roaring success,
Total. I'm
right?
healthier now. I'm healthier now than I have been. So I'm 58. When I turned 50, I said to myself, if I take care of myself from 50 to 60, 60 to 80 is going to be great.
Yes.
If in that period of 50 to 60, I don't take care of myself, it's just going to be a slide down. So
Slight, yeah.
yeah, luckily I work with some folks. I work with a guy, Richard Azunian, who's one of the top theater critics, director. He worked on Phantom of the Opera. He's 75, and he eats great. He goes for walks every day. So there's some other folks in my life like that. Older guys they just take care of themselves. It's I've been lucky, and they're also clients. It's coincidence you get attracted to the kinds of people that respect the same things you do.
Absolutely. And so, okay, so talking about work, because the events industry, you had to
Yeah,
figure out the virtual side, right? And I don't know if you're allowed to
yeah,
disclose
that's
some of
right.
your clients, but they're pretty big
Sure.
names, right?
Yeah,
Who,
yeah. I'd
and so
rather
you,
not, but
yeah, no,
yeah.
that's fine. But like virtual events with how many people? Like
Right.
3,000?
Yeah, 3,000 selling $30 tickets to over. Well, I'll tell you, one of them is a comedian, Ron James, and I'm happy to say his name because it was reported we made the Toronto Star because it was such a huge success. You're paying his audience. I've been working with Ron for years. We built a community on social media, just social media, no email list. Now we have an email list. And last year in New Year's Eve, we're like, let's do a New Year's Eve show and charge $30, and we're going to work it hard. And I mean, we spent a lot on marketing, but we brought in 30. What it was? We brought in 3,000 plus people, all paying $30 each for an hour with Ron live on Zoom. We were overwhelmed by, and I'll tell you, Ron's out doing live shows now, and every show he hears from people who goes, man, during the COVID and last year at Christmas, I was so disappointed, but so happy to get some laughs. Like we really lightened people's loads by doing that show, and we
You,
keep hearing about it all the time.
yeah, and it's interesting because it's easy to forget the impact that the arts makes,
Oh my
right?
God,
Like,
yeah.
yeah. And I
Think about
think,
it.
oh,
We
so
were all
much.
watching Netflix during COVID, watching Netflix, listening to music, reading books, and conversely exercise. So in the past I would lean too far on the arts and not hard enough on the exercise. Now I'm trying to find more balance.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
I know we have to wrap up, which it sucks
Yeah.
because we could talk forever. But the like, if
So in
people are
terms of
turned, yeah, go ahead.
getting people to pay to attend a virtual event is difficult because the audience perceives there to be no scarcity in terms of tickets. If you're doing a live show in a venue, the audience knows in their head because they've been there, oh, there's 1,000 seats, I want the best seat. So there's some prestige with buying your tickets early because then you get the best seats. And let's be honest, when you go to see a show, you're kind of looking, who is in the front row? What's going on there? How
Not
come
just
they got the
me.
good tickets? So there's some prestige that provides some status. Oh, I'm at opening night. Oh, big deal for me. I'm a status. And there's scarcity because there's only so many tickets. When you try to sell something, and it could be even an online course, not an online event, the prestige is gone, the status is gone, the scarcity is gone. So we have to try and create that. That's why we're doing this Black Friday deal. There's scarcity on the price, which I'm not a huge fan of doing, but sometimes if it fits into what's going on in the world, it's okay.
Yeah, definitely. And that, but like creating that. Now, I do want to mention your mastermind for art
Sure.
professionals because
Yeah.
this is really where, well, you explain it.
So it's
What's
called
going
the
on?
Arts Marketing Mastermind. It's at keithtomasek.com, and it's a group of 8 people or less in the current rotation. I've got 3 folks, all no 2 Americans, 1 Canadian, And it's great. So I lead a 1 hour session every week for 8 weeks. There's lots of videos and lots of other content, but it's we learn together. So we're helping each other out. Right now, I've got a an arts organization, so it's a community organization, an association. I've got a independent small theater that has a mission statement, and then I've got a jazz festival that doesn't even sell tickets, but they get government grants and so on and so forth and sponsorship. So they have to have large crowds, and we all
Mhm.
have different goals and metrics, and we learn from each other. That's the best part, is we're learning from each other. I mean, as a matter of
That
fact, I just produced a show here in London, and the guy who runs the association gave me a tip that I was able to integrate using a QR code effectively on the poster, which I used to do, but I'd stopped doing it. And he's like, no, QR codes are back. I'm like, all
yeah.
right.
Yeah, COVID saved the QR code.
It's
Yay,
hilarious.
COVID.
QR codes are back.
Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, well, I know we have to wrap, so we've covered a couple things that I wanted to cover, but we covered a whole bunch of things I didn't even expect to
I
cover.
know.
So
Sorry, we went
I'm
into the
well
health
good with
thing,
that.
but it's
No, I think
priority.
it's so great because it's what people need to hear, right? Like this whole the
Yeah.
whole concept of the resilience reset is if you're having a great day, come join and keep it going. And if you're not, then this is your chance to revisit it and they're still have a great day, right? And so maybe you need to go
That's a good
outside and
point.
exercise and get
God,
some sun. I know you were
get
supposed to have the
outside.
sun first thing in the morning though. I get the
The
sun
sun's
in the afternoon.
so
Maybe that's
in terms of your circadian rhythms, which is the thing that tells your body when to sleep and helps you produce melatonin and all that sort of stuff. The it wants to know when is it wake up time? When is it wake up time? And if you're inside the house looking through windows, it doesn't register the same way it does if you go outside, just because the amount of lumens. And once you get outside, you just can't compare the amount of light you're getting. And that sends a signal to your brain, oh, it's wake up time, which then says, okay, whatever, a certain amount of hours later, it's going to be downtime. So the earlier in the beginning of your day, and I tell you what, one of the things I realized was when I worked and lived in Toronto, I walked to work every morning. Never had any blues or anything. When I was the primary caregiver for our son, I walked my kid to school every morning at 8:30. And then I realized, well, one of the things that's changed is I'm not doing that morning walk. And I always felt great during those times in my life. So I tried to recreate that with this just a random morning walk. I have nowhere to go.
just walk around the block, all good. Hey, we're
I know
chasing
it
the
feels
sun.
it's so to me it's so inefficient. Like if you're walking to work, that's cool. If you're walking your kid to school, that's cool. Now it's just me. I'm the old guy walking around.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, listen, I am super excited that you got to come for a chat here.
Yeah,
And I
no,
know
my
we could chat
pleasure.
for hours, but thank you so much. And I encourage you, if you are trying to figure out your social, if you're in the arts, arts organization, or if you're in the nonprofit sector, trying to run some
Yeah.
events and social media, fill the
The
seats.
other the other thing that I bring to the table too is I worked as a TV producer, and before that I was a radio person. So I really love integrating social media into a larger campaign. Some of my clients still buy print, they're buying newspaper. So it's really important, if you're going to be working in other mediums, to figure out an integrated strategy. So you time and schedule your social media so it complements and sort of builds on the stuff you're doing in other media. And that's one of the things I bring to the table too. Big background in traditional media, but I have a love and passion for digital media.
Which is how we first met when you were
That's right. Yeah.
here
Back I
at
was running a
CTV.
TV station. Yeah.
Yeah, the good old
Uh,
days.
You should have
All
been
right.
on the show, and now
Yes,
you
but
have
then
your own.
I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now if I had have
I
gotten
know.
that job, right? I wouldn't have had to learn how to be so bloody resilient. Uh,
Yeah.
fair enough, right? Anyway, I am super hang tight there in the green room, Keith. I'll be right to you. And for each and every one of you, I hope you got a lot out of it. I will definitely be sure Keith's contact info are in the comments because I know a lot of you watch this on the repeat. And I can't wait to see you tomorrow for Wildcard Wednesday. And until then, please stress less, do more, and be happier. Bye for now.